Yeah, practice rained out yesterday. This is the first time the trucks have been on track, and we are racing at Pocono in the regular season finale. Zane Smith and Chandler Smith on the front row. Who's going to be the first to make it to turn one?
We saw Zane get that early jump, but that allowed Carson Hocevar in the 42 to give a good push to Chandler Smith and pushed him out front. These are such long straightaways. It's important to have help on these restarts to get a good jump into turn one.
A really tidy start, initial start too, for these guys.
Chandler Smith in first, Zane Smith in second, and there's Hocevar leading the second pack. Third place on back. Through the tunnel turn for the first time.
As Trevor said, one of the trickiest corners in really all of racing. Watch Zane Smith now move to the inside to try to grab that lead.
Caution is out. An accident in turn two. Caution is out. Well, that tunnel turn, we talked about it in pre-race, and the bumps that really make that a challenging corner. And Jack Wood, the rookie in that 24 truck for GMS, had some contact. And Phil, just as you said, how clean they had gotten through. But that tunnel turn, that second, that never really mention it as turn two. It's always the tunnel turn, but it is the second of the three. But very bumpy over there, and that makes it even extra difficult to navigate, Trevor.
Well, it definitely is bumpy. And then you also have this odd angle. You know, every track we go to, you kind of know your timing of when you can get to the gas and how far you can track out. You see the rubber on the wall there at the Pocono painting. You run out of room really quick if you have your angle off at all. If you're on the outside and you can't get the thing turned, it's so easy when you get back to the gas to run out of space right there.
On board with Todd Bodine looking at the 24.
Just a little bit of a wiggle on entrance. Trevor, you talk about you want to be back in the throttle really before the apex of the corner. You saw Jack just get a little sideways, and I'm not sure he made any contact with anything. Put 4 new tires on it. He should be okay.
Yeah, the good news for Jack Wood, he didn't collect any others. It's the good news for the rest of the field for sure.
First caution of the day is out, and you said it, turn two. That's the challenging turn. I mean, they're all challenging, but that's the problem area, and we have seen it already early on.
You have, and you've seen the start too. He started on the outside and he got passed, but he's just now coming back up to pass for the lead. So it's just the beginning. It's going to be a long day.
Definitely, and I should note that number 24 of Jack Wood is the car that had the incident there. Jack is a rookie. He's not full-time in the series yet, still kind of dipping his toes here in the truck series, so that's expected. We talked about it. No practice. A lot of these young guys are taking their first look at the racetrack, and they're getting their hands full, the tricky triangle.
You said it, no practice. That's the whole deal. You get in there, and I mean, it looked like he drafted up there, and he got out of the gas at the right time of when he turned in, makes the rear end unlock, and overcorrected and got into the fence. It don't look like trucks hurt too bad, so he'll be back out there.
For sure. And, you know, it's interesting, though, we talk about in this not having practice. So who are we going to see then rise to the occasion? Which one of these drivers, obviously the veterans, are go-tos, but when you look at the statistics here, there are actually 5 former ARCA winners at Pocono in the field.
Well,
very different animal, the ARCA series to the truck series. We talked about that, the truck being really such a difficult machine to drive anyways. But that knowledge of the track, that's got to count for something, right?
it does. I mean, you got to know the lay of the land. I mean, and they do. They know how far they can get it in. And they basically got the same motor. They just ain't got the same aerodynamic package. So they're going to still races the same, but you just got to watch your draft pulling up there and make sure you got your nose out of the wake of the other driver to keep the thing turning.
One of those drivers that has an ARCA win there is Ty Majeski. He's currently in the top 5, I believe, in the point standings. Doesn't have a win yet in the truck, so he's been one I've been keeping an eye on.
I've been watching him the whole time. He puts on a show. He knows where his truck's at. He knows where his bumper's at. He knows where the side panels are. So he definitely puts on a good show.
I would imagine he'll do the same thing again today here at Pocono. We'll send it back to the racetrack. Once again, first caution of the day is out, but it's early here today for the truck series.
Sure is.
Welcome back, Camping World Truck Series racing from Pocono on Fox, presented by Blue Emu. Beautiful day here at Pocono Raceway. Lots of sunshine. Boy, it was gorgeous early yesterday, and then rain moved through and washed out practice and qualifying. So this is the first time on track for the Camping World Trucks. Jack Wood has brought out the caution with a spin over in the tunnel turn. Didn't do any significant damage, but did bring out the yellow, and he came in and put on a fresh set of tires, and we'll go back out, and it sets us up, Trevor, for one of those nasty restarts I'm talking about.
Well, everybody was pretty conservative in turn 1 on the first start because they hadn't had a lap on the track. Now they've made at least 2 corners. They know a little bit more about what to expect, and we've got the front row still set the same with Chandler Smith and Zane Smith. Probably going to be flip-flop this time, where Chandler's maybe on the outside if he chooses that, but I expect people to be a little more aggressive here with their moves getting into turn 1 now that they've checked the box on where to lift at.
How about some radio from the 66 of Ty Majeski?
On the splitter, hard into one, hard. We need to stay out unless you can't work with it. Man, it was on it hard. I don't know. Almost who's got to make the call here. Fine through the tunnel, obviously be fine in 3. Let's see if the air pressures come up here, give it another shot.
So what's that do to the handling of the truck?
Yeah, I mean, you do not want to be on the splitter after a couple laps. Maybe for a lap or 2 it's okay, but the tone of Ty's voice tells me it's not just a little bit. You can see a little bit of splitter wear on the right front even there already. And with the bumps in the tunnel turn, the truck's already unloaded, as we saw with Jack Wood. If you're not back to the throttle early, if you're hitting the splitter over those bumps and you lose the turn, you know, it's understeers through that part or gets tight, then it makes it really hard to hit your angles right. Also, turn 1 with all the banking, you've got a lot of speed and compression there. So turn 1, turn 2 are your concerns. Turn 3, it should be okay.
How about Josh on the 38 of Zane Smith?
Yeah, guys, and you talk about being on the splitter. Well, Zane Smith just came over the radio and said he's a little bit on the splitter into the tunnel turn, and this is a brand new truck for the 38 team. He said it should be their best truck, but not having practice or qualifying concerns him because they couldn't test it out, but they wanted to make sure they tested it before we got to the playoffs, guys.
Yeah, and that's a great point, Josh, and Trevor touched on it in the open that these teams did not get a chance to run these trucks yesterday, so this is the first time on. So if they weren't set up appropriately or properly, they're dealing with it right now until they can get to that first pit stop.
And when we're talking about being on the splitter, we may be talking about 1/8 of an inch, maybe all, as we go green here.
Back to green at Pocono.
Fanning out 5 wide as we get back to rows 5 there.
Jockeying for position, but it's still Chandler Smith taking it into turn 1 with the lead. Zane Smith right there for second, and oh, it's so tight going through these turns 2 and 3 wide.
Side by side through the rest of the field, I think, Vince. A nice move by Christian Eckes in the 98 on that restart.
That's Hocevar on the outside of Eckes, down through the tunnel turn where Jack Wood had his issue. Eckes and Hocevar side by side for third, and Derek Kraus poking his nose in that 19 truck.
Really hold the top like that. We've not seen anyone run through that traction compound yet, where it's darker on the racetrack in lane 2 up the racetrack, but he held his own really well through the tunnel turn, which is tough to do on the top.
I heard a lot of the Xfinity guys who had a short practice in qualifying today, and they said nobody really got up into that resin traction compound to see how it did. But you see Derek Kraus is doing a pretty good job, and the 52 of Stuart Friesen jumps up in there in the traction compound.
That's the whole idea behind it. Give you a little more grip up there, and we'll see if it ends up paying off for somebody as Eckes and Hocevar continue to run side by side in a battle with John Hunter Nemechek now on the back end of the 19 of Derek Kraus. Tyler Ankrum right there as well. Hocevar has secured a third from Eckes, and now Eckes under assault by the 52 of Friesen. Winner earlier this season at Texas, snapped that 53 race drought. Any issues there for Eckes, Jamie?
Well, not at this time, but while we're on the topic of no practice, no qualifying, one thing that ThorSport did to get ready for the race this weekend was completely change their Pocono setup. It was all in the geometry geometry and the suspension, the way the front end set up, everything is completely different than what they've run here in the past. The reason being, they've never been any good here, and they're in a position to have all 4 of their full-time trucks into the playoffs, and they wanted to maximize that here this weekend. Talking to Christian Eckes, he said these wholesale changes, it leaves a lot of questions because we don't know how they're going to respond, having not had practice and not had qualifying, and now the caution's back out.
Yeah, it's Dean Thompson in the 40 truck, 20-year-old from Anaheim, California.
Yeah, Dean is one of the drivers. There's a handful of drivers that have never been to Pocono, period, in anything, ARCA or anything. Dean's one of those guys. Unfortunately, around to go some flat tires. Did not make very significant contact with the inside wall, but certainly some flat tires.
They have to come to pit road and put some fresh rubber on, and all teams have 4 sets of tires for the race today, and that should be enough. As you see Thompson down there underneath the 44 of Chris Wright. And boy, fortunate there that Tyler Hill in that 5 truck was able to avoid Thompson.
Looked like Dean had to chase it up the hill a little bit, and he finally had to turn the steering wheel to avoid running into his teammate, and unfortunately lost the back end.
And that corner off of turn 1 is always kind of free. If you're going to be good at Pocono, you need to be a little bit free through turn 1, and that makes it extra difficult. You get somebody on your right side and lose that side force, and next thing you know, you're sliding like he was.
Under caution for the second time here in stage 1. It's the regular season finale for the Camping World Truck Series, racing at Pocono.
Seven laps complete at Pocono for the Truck Series. All right, 7 laps in. We only have 15 laps in stage 1, though. So what are your initial takeaways here early on from this race, and what do you think we're going to see as the stage winds down?
I don't think nobody's going to pit. I think they're going to have to stretch it out a little bit and try for that last one. But he's definitely going to get 4 tires, so we're going to see what tires do, because he's definitely a strong running truck. So we'll see what 4 tires do, and that's going to see where everybody else is going to pit later down the road. But like I said, it's only lap 7. We got the second yellow flag, so the track's a little slippery. It's going to see we come out of this thing. It's going to be a long day if it keeps going like this.
Something that we saw shifting gears a little bit here that we saw pre-race. I want to talk about seeing a little bit of emotion from the Onion.
Oh.
Todd Bodine, this is his final start in the Truck Series.
You know what's so good about it? I got released before I wanted to quit racing, and it was hard to get another ride. For Todd to come back and going out and doing his fanfare, or however you want to call it, saying goodbye to the fans and thank you for everything they've done. It's unbelievable what he's done. I mean, they put a great thing together. Then ended up at Pocono because that's kind of where Janet's mom lived, and he put most of his time up there and everything. So it's pretty neat to see this.
I feel as though it didn't really sink in until he got there in the seat. They started asking him questions. He's a great person, but doesn't show a ton of emotions from that side of things. So that was surprising to see. It
was. You can see his face starting to get a little red in there, and I didn't know he wore glasses when he drove, but you know, that's showing our age right now, but I'm a lot older than he is. But it's cool to go out that way. I mean, why he wants to have 800 starts is beyond me. It's pretty cool to do, though, but he's doing it his way, and he's having fun doing it. That's what's so good about it. And like I told you, these trucks drive completely different than what he's used to. And his last run, he ended up 6th or something like that. So he's got a good chance. He's already coming through the field pretty good. We're not showing him too much on TV right now, but I think he's going to be there by the end of the day.
800 starts. And like you said, to see the evolution of this series, he's been there through so much of it. And now how neat is it for us to watch his final start and for these drivers to have an opportunity to compete against Todd Bodine?
Is it his final start?
No.
You never know.
I know you drivers, and it never is. It's never their final start, I'll tell you that. Well, let's send things back to the track as we get ready to go back green here at Pocono Raceway.
Catch the next chapter in baseball's oldest rivalry as the Giants take on Mookie Betts and the Dodgers tonight. Baseball Night at America on Fox. Maybe you'll get the Guardians and the White Sox. It's 7 Eastern tonight on Fox. Check for the game in your area. How about that All-Star game this past week in Los Angeles? Fun watch on Fox earlier this week. How about what's happening with Matt Crafton? Started this race on the playoff bubble. Jamie?
Well, for Matt Crafton during this yellow flag, he was talking to his team. He said, I don't really want anything changed power-wise. He said, we're just as good as anybody out there. But he did have some interesting things to say about track placement. Listen to this.
You're so vulnerable down there on the bottom. I mean, you could be a hero or you could be a hell of a zero if you don't make it work. It's better just to stay in line and let it work through the center and not try to do anything down the front. You just be sitting duck. Yeah, I agree. You got to be patient now.
Got to be patient. That was the period there. But everybody that chose behind him did fall straight back. So Matt Crafton learning some lessons out there, even with all of his experience, Josh.
Communication issue for the 23 team of Grant and Finger. They had to replace the radio harness because they couldn't hear him. That's not something you want to have to happen, so they had to come and replace that harness so they can fix that communication problem.
Well, and remember, as we told you in the open, Enfinger still is not locked into the playoffs. He cannot have a disastrous day today and just assume that he's going to make it in. He came into the final race of the regular season 9th in the playoff spot, and of course 10 get in. But as you see, Grant, he's got to be panicking a little bit inside, I would imagine, at this point. With
you could see him waving his arms.
Like, get out of the way. I gotta go. You don't want to go a lap down in this situation, that's for sure. And they've had a couple shots at it. I didn't see any new components or radio things going in. I saw him straighten his wheel, take it off, put it back on, and then he said, get out of the way, boys. It's time to go.
We saw the 66 come to pit road as well, and we had heard radio from Ty Majeski saying how badly that truck was on the splitter, so they took advantage of that caution to come in and make an adjustment to the front end. Majeski, one of those racers that has really been a bright spot this season, not just for ThorSport, but in the series in general. He has been knocking on the door of his first career win and top 5 finishes in 3 of the last 4. Maybe today is the day for Ty Majeski.
He's a former winner here in the ARCA series, Vince.
6 to go. Make it 5 when they cross the line in stage 1.
See Stuart Friesen pushing on Zane Smith there, getting him a little bit loose, and Carson Hocevar pushes Chandler Smith out the lead, jumps to the bottom.
Wow, that was not much of an opening, and Hocevar just dove right into it. Chandler Smith keeps the lead, and Eckes has gone up into that 2nd spot.
Zane down there in the bottom that Crafton was talking about being really vulnerable spot, and Zane lost a few spots down there as John Hunter Nemechek, that purple number 4, goes for 3rd.
Nemechek won this race a year ago. This is the same truck he drove to victory in that race. Freshened it up and brought it back, and why not? 3 wide. Friesen on the bottom.
Zane Smith said, I bet I can go a little bit deeper into that corner. I'm going to hold you off on the top. And the thing that's surprising to me so far is how good the top has been for these drivers. They've been able to hold on position. Carson Hocevar was able to hold off John Hunter Nemechek through the tunnel turn, and then we saw Zane Smith there hold off Stuart Friesen from the top. But a huge run for John Hunter and Stuart Friesen into turn 1 to get by Zane.
Well, those trucks out and locked up and pushed them both by Zane Smith. Now John Hunter's going to fade to the top just a little bit and opened himself up for a 3 wide with trouble.
Todd Bodine has gone around and into the wall. And
big hit.
Yeah, this time Tyler Hill was not able to avoid it, and Jack Wood is in that as well.
The one inside got us. One just clipped us in the right rear.
Oh, significant damage to the tail end of that 62 of Todd Bodine. Oh, heartbreaker. I know how much Todd wanted to have a good, strong day today. His 800th career start, the final of his 6 races this season.
Maybe he can get to pit road, Trip Roos and the guys, get that thing patched up where we can get back on the racetrack. A lot of damage, though, to the 24 of Jack Wood.
That's one of the hard spots. We heard him talk about starting in the rear from no qualifying, and sometimes you get back there and get in trouble early. And like you said, I hate to see that for Todd for his last start here.
We heard some radio talking about somebody getting hooked in the right rear. Don't know if Todd was the one that got hooked in the right rear. There's Todd right there in the blue Camping World Toyota.
Todd had made some good progress before this happened.
Looked like Haley Deegan maybe squeezed Todd a little bit. Haley was in that one truck. It just got tight down there. They were 3 wide, and
you're going through that corner 2 and 3 wide. There is not much room for error. We've seen some guys get away with it already in these early laps, but not that time. Blaine Perkins in the 9 underneath Bodine.
Yeah, just out of real estate there for everybody.
Yeah, I don't think Haley realized that she was the top of 3 wide, and she squeezed Todd down, and the 9 of Blaine Perkins was there. Todd couldn't move down anymore.
Well, and we saw that late move by Todd to go to the middle, and for the spotters here at Pocono, it's really hard. They're looking down that front stretch instead of looking at the top or to the side of the trucks, and sometimes it's hard for a spotter to know, like Haley's spotter, hey, maybe you're too wide, maybe inside, but it's hard to make that call when you have that angle.
Saw the frustration there of Bodine just throwing the hands up in the air. And, you know, you may not win the race, but, and not just Bodine, but any of those involved, you want to run all the laps. You want to run to the end. You want to give yourself a chance for the best possible finish, whatever that may be for your team. Some the goal is the win, some the goal is a top 10, some the goal is a top 15 or top 20, but you want to get to the end and give yourself the best chance.
You do, and as I mentioned, one of the things you have to be really careful of here is those late moves into turn 1. We saw it in the Cup race with Kyle Larson and Chase Elliott here last year when they ran out of room late and blocked to the top and the spotter couldn't see it. So that's something you just have to know if you're going to make it to the end of this race. You almost have to be super cautious, and that's a conversation you have before the race. Hey, let's not make those late moves into turn 1.
Tyler Hill in that 5 truck in his 4th start of the season. Jack Wood, one of the rookies in the series. There's those spotters, and when you're looking across that racetrack too, a lot of distance between where the spotters are and where some of those guys are squeezing for position.
Well, they're in the middle of the straightaway, and as Trevor was talking about, it's a 3,700-foot straightaway, and they're looking all the way down to their right, and it is hard to have the perspective of the angle of where those guys are. So Haley Deegan's spotter may not have, and as you mentioned, Todd's move was a little late to get to the middle, may not have realized that they were 3 wide, and Haley certainly didn't realize it.
Well, Todd Bodine has taken it to the garage, and this first stage is going to end under caution. That means Chandler Smith will be the stage winner, but this is why we are under caution at Pocono.
Stage 1 is complete. Chandler Smith, the stage 1 winner. We'll talk about that in just a second. First, describe what Todd Bodine is feeling. I mean, being a victim of circumstance, knowing that this is your last race, just sitting in the seat there, that's got to be a dejecting feeling.
Well, it took 2 or 3 times to look at it, but there were 4 wide. If you look at it, there was somebody up there. There was Haley Deegan, him, and then the 9 trucker down below, and it just comes to a funnel, and somebody's got to give, and it was one of them. At that point of the racetrack, you're all rolling, trying to get the best roll speed you can. So circumstances right there, I mean, somebody's spotter didn't say nothing, or 4 wide, you ain't going to make it through turn 1.
Doesn't matter what your spotter's saying when you're 4 wide. I mean, there really isn't a lot of room for error. We heard them say that there on the broadcast. But as I mentioned, stage 1 is complete. Chandler Smith picks up those stage points. So if I'm Chandler Smith, I mean, I obviously have a fast truck. I've got stage 1 under my belt. I do have a win this season. So kind of what's my outlook for the rest of the race here, knowing I'm not in a must-win situation?
Do what you got to do to win another race. I mean,
Keep on keeping on.
It's just record books, and now you know you're in the chase and doing all that. So just get another win for the record books.
So what if I'm a guy, though, that's maybe not like Chandler Smith, and they're really, like you said, pit strategy here. There's so few pit stops, potentially only 1 scheduled pit stop. If I'm not happy with my truck right now, what's the conversation like with my team?
Short race. Pray a little bit. Make sure they make the right adjustments, because if they don't make the right adjustments, you're going to stay where you're at.
So not much you can do either way right now. It's a sprint here at Pocono with a lot on the line. Stage 1 is complete. We'll send you back to the racetrack as we get ready here to start stage 2.
Heartbreaking ending for Todd Bodine today in his 800th career NASCAR start, having to climb out of the truck after contact and heavy damage to his Camping World machine. And well, it's so frustrating for Todd. We'll grab a word with him here shortly, but congratulations to Zane Smith. As we come to the end of stage one, Zane will officially clinch the regular season title and gain those 15 playoff bonus points that he'll take with him through the end of the playoffs. And he's been the championship runner-up 2 years in a row, and all these bonus points that he has accumulated during the regular season will certainly increase his odds of getting back to Phoenix as one of the championship four and an opportunity to win the title this year.
Yeah, that gives him those 37 bonus points that he'll carry all the way through.
Coming to the green-white checker under caution, and mentioned before we went to the break that Chandler Smith would be the stage one winner.
What a cool win for Bob Jenkins, who's been a long-time Cup Series owner with his team at Front Row, and now to get a regular season championship in the Truck Series. I know he's had a ton of fun being an owner in this series over the last couple years.
And winning the regular season title doesn't mean you're a shoe-in for the overall championship. I mean, the last 4 years, the regular season champ has not won the overall championship.
I think Christopher Bell in 2017, Vince, was the last time the guy that won the regular season went on to win the championship. Austin Hill won it a couple years ago, and he had a bad run through the playoffs and didn't even make it to the Final Four at Phoenix.
I know that those extra points, though, are going to make that yellow brick road a little bit easier to follow to get there. I know it. You know, you can have an issue one race, and all of a sudden you're out of the playoffs, and this gives him that mulligan feel that I know you never need on the golf course, but some of us need it. You know,
just won a hole, Trevor. Thank you, though.
So what's this do from a, we haven't had a lot of green flag laps, but what's this do in regards to whether you're going to come to pit road here at the end of this first stage or stay out?
I think if you're comfortable with your truck, then I really don't see any reason to come to pit road here. I think if you need an adjustment like we saw earlier by time adjusting some of the other guys' Grand Infinger, then yeah, come to pit road. But we know that these drivers are able and teams are able to go to lap 27 or 28, even to the end of the second stage if they wanted to do that. So I think the strategy and the options are all over the board right now.
Yeah, you're right. Unless you have something like putting that shim in the shock, something that's going to take longer and cost you track position on that next stop, to me, you've only got 4 or 5 laps of green flag time on your tires. Heat cycles do make a difference with tires, but to me, if I like my truck, like you said, Phil, I'm staying out here, keeping that track position until the end of stage 2.
Stage 1 results. And all those drivers that you see listed, they need the points. Corey Heim, not full-time in the Truck Series, but he is running for Rookie of the Year. Came in with a 5-point advantage over Lawless Allen, so he'll take that stage point as well. And speaking of takers on pit road, Derek Kraus in the 19, Zane Smith in the 38, Josh.
And Zane Smith booked his way through getting the championship, but a little concern for him right now, losing the nose of the truck on the turns, and it's getting worse as they run, so they're going to try and make an adjustment to help him out, Jamie.
Well, for the number 19 of Derek Kraus, they're going up with the track bar just one turn. He said they're not completely happy. He said the truck is completely raceable. They're hoping that it's going to come to him, and this is what he talked about pre-race. He said stage by stage, we have to take it one step at a time. Can we win the race, or can we get some points? Right now, they're trying to get the truck in a position where they can even fight for those points.
Still making those adjustments on the 38 of Zane Smith, and take your time there. Obviously, they want to win the race, but they want to get the truck right first and foremost. And with him already clinching the regular season title, they have a little more room for error. But you mentioned, and Jamie was talking about Derek Kraus. Obviously, if he wins the race, he's below the cut line, came in 11th. If he wins the race, he's automatically in. He can point his way in. But if you're going to make any significant changes, you want to do it early because you want to spend as less time as possible on pit road late in the race.
Yeah, he gained 4 points on Matt Crafton in that first stage. So he went from 19 below the cut line now to 15 below the cut line. So he's certainly going in the right direction.
Chandler Smith, the stage 1 winner, he stayed out, feeling pretty good about things. His second stage win of the season. See if he can hold on to it when we come back.
Well, Chandler Smith is the Stage 1 winner, and Zane Smith is the regular season champion. Now, I know Zane was hoping to lock in that title last race, but with Parker Kligerman coming out there as a non-regular and winning the race, I think he kind of shook things up there. So I know Zane is happy to have locked in that officially now, but then you throw in that statistic. You have to go back to 2017. If Christopher Bell was the last time we saw a regular season champion in the Truck Series go on to win the overall season championship.
I've never had a chance to race this format, so when I
It's
see what
funky.
NASCAR was doing, it's like, I don't
Right?
know what they're doing, but it's sure putting on a good show. I mean, it's just changed up the whole statistic. How do you run the race?
Exactly, because it puts into perspective, or I should say, puts the importance on, yes, you have to make the playoffs,
Yeah.
but then you have to continue to advance. And consistency is obviously huge in this playoff format, but a win moves you forward. So it really is, it's a whole different animal here, balancing consistency and opportunity.
Yeah, but before the show, if you looked at his stats, I mean, he had a second, a third, a second, a third. So, I mean, he's got his consistencies now. Let's just get it to that point and just start the green flag at the next race and get this one over with.
I have to agree, seeing that statistic of having to go back all the way to 2017 to find that regular season champion win the overall championship. If there was ever a season that we were going to see things shake up a little bit, it might be this year with Zane Smith, given what we've seen from him on track. But then again, this Truck Series always provides some surprises.
Never over until the green or checkered flag. I say green flag at the next race. Yeah.
You're not wrong. Never over till the checkered. Well, we have a green and white checkered still before we take the final checkered. Stage 2 is going to get underway here soon, so we'll send it back over to Pocono Raceway.
Stage 2 underway at Pocono for the Camping World Truck Series, and Chandler Smith, the Stage 1 winner, leads them through turn 1. Out front, Carson Hocevar and Christian Eckes, a little side-by-side battle for second.
Somebody that's creeped their way up there. Corey Heim sitting in 4th place now in that top lane in the 51 truck. He's made some progress through this thing, starting pretty far back here in 17th. I'd say one of the biggest movers so far in this race.
Yeah,
11
Hocevar.
trucks stayed out that time, Vince, too.
Hocevar dropped back there. Stuart Friesen now in 3rd, and as Phil mentioned, the top 11 all stayed out. John Hunter Nemechek in that purple number 4. He came in, took 4 tires. We'll see last year's winner if he can move up. He has started to do that. He's gained a couple of positions in this first lap. Back up to 9th.
Vince, as we talked earlier, and Trevor mentioned it, they want to stay within touch of the leader. They want to stay within about 12 seconds of the leader, and that opens up the options for them to come in and pit under green prior to the end of the second stage. So these guys are all running hard right now to maintain that gap to the leader.
Somebody that you don't see in your frame right now is Zane Smith. They came in during that last caution and made some pretty big adjustments that took a lot of time and cost him some major track position. He's back right now to 25th position, so he's got some work cut out if he wants to stay within reach of that and being able to short pit.
Starting to sort itself out a bit now as you see the 17 of Ryan Preece, winner his last time out, grabbing a position from Matt Crafton.
No huge surprise to see that 17 of Ryan Preece run up front. Seems like he's run well every single time he's been in that truck. He won his Truck Series debut at Nashville last year in that 17 truck.
Right now up 16 spots since the start of this race, so that's another big mover there along with Corey Heim.
Well, prior to the break in the end of stage 1, we saw Todd Bodine wreck out, and he is now with Josh Sims.
Todd Bodine checked and released from the care center. An unfortunate end, but overall, what does 800 mean to you?
Yeah, it's definitely not how we wanted this to go. You know, I just like I said, I've been so blessed to be able to do what I love to do for 800 times and make so many good friends and have so many great people involved in my life. And it's a pretty blessed life to have. But, you know, that's racing. I've been here before. I've been wrecked before. It's just part of the game. Heck, maybe I'll have to make it 801. I don't know. But just thanks to Chris Larson and Stuart Friesen for letting me do this and having this much fun. Marcus Lemonis and Camping World. Marcus stepped up. Nobody thought he would, and he did. Appreciate it, Marcus. You know, thank you to all the fans that have supported me all these years. It's truly meant the world to me, and I appreciate it. And, you know, I'll see you on TV, having fun on TV.
Thanks, Todd. And guys, a chance for 801 maybe. Who knows?
We'll see. Certainly 800 didn't end the way he wanted.
He didn't put a period on it, did he?
He didn't even make it to the end of the race to call that. I mean, I thought I'd give him a few weeks at least to say, oh, I might try this again.
The 51 of Corey Heim challenging Stuart Friesen now for third.
Corey staying real close to that side of the 52 to try to get that truck a little bit loose down there. He's able to make that pass.
Man, what a change. I keep mentioning the traction compound. What a difference. 3 years ago, 4 years ago, without that, there's no way you hold the outside. And really that's why NASCAR and the tracks have done this, is to make multiple grooves, make these tracks that were one groove more racy and give you some options. So I think it's doing its job right now to give these drivers the ability to pass.
And it's not really haphazard either, guys, too, because they measure this and they measure grip levels before they apply it, and then they measure after they apply it. And sometimes they'll reapply it during the weekend. So there's certainly a science about it.
What a season it's been for Corey Heim as well, as he's got that third position in hand from Friesen now. He's won twice this season, as you see his Kyle Busch Motorsports teammate Chandler Smith continue to lead, and there's the gap back to second and third, and Heim starting to close in on Eckes. But just 8 starts, Heim has won twice. Now in several of those others he's been outside the top 20, so it's kind of been feast or famine for that 51, but it's been an impressive rookie season on a part-time basis for Corey Heim, Jamie.
And one of the things that he had to say going into the race was that being a part-time guy, not in it for the full season point standings, he feels like it changes the way that people race him. He doesn't think that people are as aggressive towards him as some of the other, but he said, you know, one thing that he can't forget about is the fact that he is in this truck for owner points. So he has that at the top of his mind. Certainly KBM has a good shoe in their number 51 truck, and he's thinking about that and the big picture of wanting to be in for a full season in the future.
Yeah, it gets the final 7 races of the season in that seat as well. And how about Austin Hill in the 7 truck starting to make his way up? He's running 15th. Grant Infinger in that 23. They had to come to pit road earlier because of radio issues, and so he's back there just inside the top 20. Certainly not where he wants to be.
That 7 truck has been impressive. Every time it's on track this year with Mike Ricci, Kevin Mannion, and then Austin Hill driving it, we've seen it battle for wins some, and that's hard to do part-time.
And we saw Martinsville, William Byron dominate the race with that 7 truck and go to victory lane.
Yeah, 6 different drivers in that 7 truck this season. Hey, 5 to go in stage 2. Chandler Smith still out front. We'll keep it side by side. You won't miss a lap at Pocono.
Welcome back to Studio 3. We've got stage 2 underway from the racetrack, and we were cracking up in here because, what, start number 801? Did we call it? Did you call it or what?
Driver's never done.
You said, I doubt he's not done, and he said right there, I'm coming back 801.
And then Todd says, I'll see you guys on TV. Todd, I took your job. Sorry, but you don't even have a TV job anymore.
Well, you heard it here first. No, we're kidding. We're kidding. But really, though, that actually begs me to ask, not Mr. Hornaday, Mr. Ron Hornaday Jr., sir. No, Ron, it actually begged me to ask the question whether or not you would be willing to get back in a truck, and you said no.
I enjoy what I'm doing right now. Is my daughter's got this little Hornaday development deal, and we're helping Landon Lewis and a bunch of other young drivers, and to see them up and coming, it's not just about driving, it's about how they dress, how they speak, how they eat dinner, you know, when they go out and stuff like that. So Candace has taken them under the wing, and it's really cool to see this. And I showed you some pictures earlier with little Keelan Harvick, 9 years old, driving these cars, and they got to go out west and all that stuff to go drive them because he's not allowed to do it at 9 years old out here. So that's what's so good about it. I still miss the racing. I only miss the fans, my family of officials and my closest friends, and that's not the only thing I miss about it. I mean, the race cars and trucks and everything has changed so much, and I'm happy sitting right here talking to you about it.
Well, I'm happy to have you here. And hey, I only put you on the spot like that because I want people to understand just how involved you still are in helping a lot of this young talent and a lot of these guys that you may not even know yet watching at home that you will know very soon. And all that to say, that's why when we sit here and we watch some of these young drivers maybe take on Pocono for the first time, it's really interesting to hear your evaluation of these guys because you spend a lot of time developing young talent.
Well, towards the end of my career, I was racing and everything, and it's like, well, how come you did that? I said, I was wide open. These two kids went on one on this side, one on this side. I don't know what to say. They got more something than I got because I'm done. I mean, if that's what it takes, and these kids are fearless. I mean, it's push a button and get a new car. But I mean, I've hit a lot of walls, and they weren't soft walls. But I mean, it's unbelievable what these kids can do, and the talent they do, and how far they push themselves.
Yeah, you definitely cannot underestimate the level of talent that we have in this series right now. And hey, we're going to see this talent on the main stage. Pit stops are starting. They're bringing it in. Let's see what these guys choose to do here. It's going to get interesting.
Several teams electing to pit before the end of stage 2, making that strategy play. You saw the 52 of Friesen, the 51 of Corey Heim, Jamie.
And it was a decent stop for Corey Heim. He was taking advantage of that #1 pit stall that he hadn't been able to take advantage of so far this season, but clean stop. And he didn't have a whole lot to say about the status of the truck, but they have made a couple of changes to adjust for the sun being out now, Josh.
And the 18 of Chandler Smith, it's been a good truck for him all day long, just a little tight in 3 and battling a little free in some of the other turns. So they gave him 4 tires, they'll get him some fuel as well, guys.
Brand new truck, the 18, Danny Stockman and Chandler Smith bringing to this race today, and it has been, I think they've hit on something because he has really been the class of the field so far, has Chandler Smith. And Kyle Busch Motorsports so good here. They won 6 of the last 7 in Pocono and have run strong so far today with Smith out front.
That's what Trevor said at the top of the show, that he's probably the only team that really didn't want any practice, so they were so good last year and the last several years, as you mentioned, Ben.
Well, and one of the things he hit on was clean air. He hasn't seen dirty air yet, and he will after this stage because some of the drivers have elected to go for stage points. Matt Crafton right now still on track, and we saw Derek Kraus on pit road. This is going to be a huge shakeup in that points battle for the playoff bubble here. I mean, for Matt Crafton, this could be the little bit of a cushion that he needs for the end of this race.
And John Hunter Nemechek, too. Remember, he's battling Chandler Smith for second in the regular season points and the playoff points that come with that. So Chandler Smith pitted, and John Hunter's going to get more stage points at the end of this second stage for a little advantage.
You might wonder why somebody like Zane Smith, Grant Enfinger, why they wouldn't pit if they're already back in track position. Well, they were past that 13-second threshold from the leader Chandler Smith, and pit road closed right as Chandler Smith hit pit road as the leader, so they didn't have the opportunity to come down at lap 27 with everybody else, or they would have been a lap down. Really shakes things up. I know that's a threshold they wanted to stay within because now they have to pit at the end of this stage.
There's our leader, and that is Christian Eckes, stage 2 winner. Tyler Ankrum right there behind him, and then Crafton and Nemechek 3rd and 4th in this stage. Nemechek ends up getting it right at the line. How about Christian Eckes, and what a season he has had. Full-time again this year after running a part-time schedule for ThorSport last season. 7 top 5s this year, and 5 times he's had the lead and gotten past, and that driver that passed him ended up winning the race. So he is due. Runner-up a couple of times. Maybe today is the day for Christian Eckes. Certainly took care of business in stage 2. Final stage ahead for Pocono.
Well, that is stage 2. Christian Eckes, your stage 2 winner.
See, I told you they were going to mix it up. Who's going to pit and who's not?
They absolutely are, and it's getting really interesting. We saw Matt Crafton stayed out there. So did Tyler Ankrum.
And then, I mean, the fuel mileage is what they say, 30 to 35 laps. So
Right on it
you're gonna
there.
have to pit again.
I don't.
What's the last stage is only 30 though, right?
Right, only 30 laps for the final stage. But some of these guys, I'd have to look back and see. But some of these guys definitely pitted there before the end of the stage. So I'm not quite sure what the fuel mileage.
That's why
is
I'm not a
looking
crew chief. I was just a driver, and I had no idea about fuel mileage.
at. Well, lucky for you, I am a crew chief.
Perfect. Loud pedal, go.
No, that's nowhere near a crew chief. That's why I have people like you with me. But so were you surprised then? So a guy like Tyler Ankrum stays out there towards the end of the stage. But then when I see Matt Crafton also stay out, what kind of a wrench does that throw in my plan?
Matt has to buffer his points right now. I mean, he knows he ain't got a truck he can win with today. I just watched it go around the corner, and he's way below the white line, so that means the thing's tight through the middle of the corner. So he's going to have to get all the points he can just to keep his little cushion he's got.
And what if I'm Derek Kraus? I've run a steady race all day. He said he's happy with his truck.
I mean, Kraus, you better wreck Crafton. That's the only thing you can do is wreck him to get the points. You're too far back in points right now. Unless Crafton has a bad day, how many trucks can you really gain? And that I think Crafton's still safe.
So the only thing though is we still have 30 laps left in this race. From your understanding of Pocono and how the track is going to change, are we going to see a big change in racetrack here in this final stage, or is it mostly going to be the rising of anticipation of the end of the race here that rides the challenge?
18's pretty strong. I'd just like to see where he's going to stack up. Did he come in at the right time? Is he going to come out of the pits? If he comes out in the lead, he's going to hold the lead. If he's come back 4th or 5th, I want to see what he does in dirty air. So, I mean, aerodynamics is the big thing about this racetrack. Down the straightaway, through the corners, how much you got to get your nose out through it. So, I mean, it could be a game changer. I don't know.
Absolutely. No doubt that 18 truck has been incredibly fast. We see it on the restarts there. But 2 stages complete. Christian Eckes is the Stage 2 winner. One final stage to go here before we kick off the Truck Series playoffs. Send it back to Pocono Raceway.
At Pocono Raceway, where we have just completed the second stage of competition. Our leaders are now hitting pit road. We're going to start off with the number 88 of Matt Crafton. One of the biggest concerns that he has right now is the heat. His team going over the wall to give him an ice bag to put behind his back, giving him some fresh water. No real adjustments to the truck, just a gas and go for Matt Crafton as he remains inside the top 10. He was thinking about the points. They said, get the math out of your head. We'll do that. You just drive. For Christian Eckes in the 98, he said he is on the splitter. He said at the end of that stage, he got tight. He couldn't run outside of the upper groove, and they're going to adjust the air pressures for him. For Tyler Ankrum in the number 16 having a solid run. He talked about this pre-race. He said, I don't want any pressure. He said, we can execute. We can do this. We've gone through all of the work, all of the paces, adjusting the pressures for him as well.
Eckes, that Stage 2 winner, and our combined points from the first 2 stages so far today. You see what Eckes and Ankrum, John Hunter Nemechek right on down the line have accomplished.
You see Matt Crafton with 10 stage points, Derek Kraus with 6. That means Crafton gains 4 overall in the first 2 stages. Came in 19 above the cut line. That puts him 23 now above the cut line.
This is the regular season finale. No race after today to get yourself into the playoffs. Got to get it done.
Just under 30 laps until we have our official playoff field set, and we'll know which of those 10 drivers is our 2022 Truck Series champion. You are a 4-time champion of this series, and you and I have been chatting here throughout the race that the Truck Series is special. It has a very interesting persona to it. It's a difficult series. There's a lot of different ages, a lot of different experience levels, and a lot of passion, which breeds some interesting characters. So when you look at this field, what to you of these drivers, what breeds a champion in the Truck Series?
Well, first of all, I don't know if I should bring it up, but I've heard somebody say that the Truck Series is a cesspool of NASCAR. They don't never been in a truck yet. This is from lap 1 to the checkered flag, you're wide open. It's like qualifying. So if you've never been in a truck, you don't know what you're saying. So watch what you say.
Yeah, that seems like a very general statement there.
It was tough because I think the Truck Series is the premier division of hard-nosed racing. A kid that wants to make it to the next level, and what the level is, I don't know, because Truck Series is pretty tough. I mean, different racetracks. When we first started, we were only going to a mile track and under. Now we're going to Daytona, 2.5 mile tracks, Pocono. So I don't know. The final of the rest race, we got 30 laps. I think the 18 came back out front. It might be his game. Hopefully he can save his fuel and stay out front. But if not, it's going to be a tough game. Like I said, protect your points.
So we were joking a little bit. You brought him up, so I feel that it's okay now. But I was going to bring up Kyle Busch. Or I was going to ask you, who owns that truck? Kyle Busch. Yes. And I only kid because if you are not familiar with Ron's career here, he is, for the longest time, the winningest driver in the Truck Series until just a few years ago when Kyle Busch took that one from you. But we only kid because you two are the elite. You are the standard when it comes to this series and the history of this series. And we hear a lot of these young drivers talk about what it means for them to get to race against people like Kyle Busch, or what it would mean for them to race against someone like you. So, you know, when you look at this and you see, we talk about this breakdown and this battle of guys like Matt Crafton, but how do you describe the Truck Series, knowing that you have such an array of personalities and of experiences? And
it's definitely a little different than when we started, because I mean, we had Jimmy Hensley, we had Joe Ruttman, we had Jack Sprague, we had Skinner, and we're all short track racers, champions at a short track. So we were trying to impress everybody the first couple of years. So we were beating and banging and short track racing like we always did. Now we're going to longer, bigger racetracks where aerodynamics and all that stuff were. Back in the day, I'm not saying our talent, but we had to hustle the car. We don't have coil bind back then. We didn't have these bump springs they're having now. And I think that's where it's ended up now. It's hard to get your truck adjusted to these bump springs. It might be easier for some people, but harder for the others. But to get back to your question, it's hard the racing now is wide open. And I said that earlier. It's everybody wants to make a name for themselves. They're going to do the best they can, but a lot of blocking involved with these lower horsepower motors. So you're seeing a whole different kind of racing.
well, it's guys like you and guys like Kyle Busch that really have set the standard in this series. But like you said, there's a lot of opportunity there, but there's also a lot of aggression. So
it is. I mean, Kyle's a hard-nosed racer, and I love what he's doing with the Truck Series, putting that many trucks out there, and they're all competitively. I mean, Kevin Harvick did it, you know, and it's showing. So give it back to the sport. I'm all for it.
Well, I'm excited to see who our next Truck Series champion will be, and we still have a few weeks until we know exactly who that is, but in less than 30 laps, we will know the official 10 drivers that are competing for that title. So let's send it back to Pocono. Enjoy these final laps. Things are going to get interesting, guys.
Final stage here, by the way, the 52 of Stuart Friesen and the 9 of Blaine Perkins, both with pit penalties. How about this pit stop for the 88 of Matt Crafton? He was not happy.
I think we're going to have some trouble. See, it fell off the jack. Cost them several valuable seconds.
I mean, he finished 3rd in the stage. He's going to line up for this restart 18th.
Man, that's not the time to have a bad stop. You come down, as you mentioned, Phil, in the break. This is their last stop of the day, potentially, and it's not when you want to give up track position.
Same thing for the 52, Vince, that you mentioned of Stuart Friesen getting a penalty for a man over the wall, extra man over the wall. Actually, he basically fell over the wall with one leg, but that's enough.
And Friesen will have to start at the back because of that penalty. So some pretty big hitters deep in the field as we get this restart underway. Chandler Smith on the outside and the 17 of Ryan Preece inside. The 3rd and final stage of the regular season finale underway from Pocono.
Second row did a great job getting to the bumper of the first row here to push them out. Everything looks calm almost.
For a while.
That doesn't look calm to me, Trevor.
At least for 2 rows, Vince.
Heim and Hocevar fighting for 3rd. Looks like Heim's going to get it.
There's Matt DiBenedetto, the 25 that was in the middle for a moment. Now he pulls back in behind the 19 of Kraus. How about Tate Fogelman in the 26 truck? Haven't talked about Tate. Nice move around the 4 of Nemechek.
3 wide into the tunnel turn. That's not something you want to hear. That's for sure. But they made it. They made it through there. John Hunter Nemechek, what you saw there is something you have to weigh as a driver. Sometimes you try to make a pass, it doesn't work out, and you actually give up 4 or 5 spots. So you really have to time those passes when you know you can complete it and not get stuck on the bottom.
There's Ben Rhodes in the 99, that teal paint scheme. Rhodes, boy, he's been deep in the field throughout much of the day, but he's finally up inside the top 10. The defending series champion hasn't had much go his way of late. Wants to get things turned around. Started hot, but 9 races without a top 5 for Rhodes in that 99. That's not the way the defending series champ wants to go to the playoffs.
No, and he took fuel only on that stop. Everybody else is on 4 tires, and it doesn't look like it's playing out great for him right here. He's losing some track position pretty quick, not able to hang on.
Tyler Anker in the 16 is going to make his way around Ben Rhodes. That's Tate Fogelman, the 26 side by side with Rhodes now. There's Ty Majeski in the 66 truck.
Corey Heim running third. Jamie?
One of the issues that's developed with Corey Heim is that he is no longer hearing everything that his spotter Darren Nealon is telling him. Over the radio, he was expressing obviously the displeasure, but the burden that puts on him when he can't hear where all of the other cars are. So that's something that's just starting to unfold for Corey Heim. I want to go back to Matt Crafton in the number 88. You saw that pit stop. The car fell off of the jack. As soon as he left pit lane, he was already on the radio to his team expressing his displeasure, telling him that if they can't do any better, there's no point in even coming out and racing. And it was just the pressure. This is a pressure race for him. Everybody at the ThorSport organization, he's right on that cut line. And it was one of the things that he said was, we have so much that we have to figure out before we're even in a position to run for a championship. A lot's gone into putting us in this position today, so we've got to race through it, but we have a lot of work to do.
Well, and remember, the 88 made a crew chief change a few weeks back. Bud Hafley has taken over as crew chief. He's also the shop foreman and didn't want this crew chief job throughout the rest of the regular season or the playoffs. So they are still expected to make a decision in the coming week about who's going to be the crew chief for Matt Crafton the rest of the season, and that may mean a run toward a 4th series championship. And Crafton said before the race, hey, if I make the playoffs, I make it. If I don't, I don't. I got to tell you, he's bluffing you.
Yeah, for sure.
It means something to make the playoffs.
It's a lot easier to say than it is to truly mean that.
A couple of teammates right there. Crafton there on the back bumper of the 99 of Rhodes. Chase Purdy behind them in the 61. Looking at 14th and 15th there with Rhodes and Crafton. Crafton making the move for position.
His closest competitor, Derek Kraus, is running in the 6th spot right now, having a great run. As we look back at John Hunter Nemechek and Matt DiBenedetto.
Hey, DiBenedetto, by the way, front stretch reporting that DiBenedetto has agreed to terms to return next year in that 25 truck. So glad that Matt will be back in the series, and certainly Rackley War, that gives them a nice solid driver, and I'm sure they will continue to move forward next year.
Yeah, tremendous improvement this year with that team Chad Kendrick led. I really love to see Matt coming back. I think they'll be contenders next year for sure. Obviously, I think they're going to be just a little bit short of the playoffs this year. A couple things would have gone a little bit differently. Maybe we may have been talking about him around that cut line, but certainly has 7 more races after this one to make something happen.
Well, in Matt's head, it's not over yet. He's still sitting in the top 10, and he says, hey, if we get a late race restart, I'm going to make something happen. You know, as a driver, it's never done till it's done, and I think it's cool that they made the announcement today before they know if they're in the playoffs or not, saying we're committed to Matt and the progress we're making.
Camping World 20 to go with Chandler Smith still out front. He's had the dominant truck today, but Ryan Preece is in the neighborhood. Ryan Preece letting them know, I'm on my way. Maybe even has the faster truck right now. Looking for the lead at Pocono.
Less than 20 laps to go there at Pocono for the Camping World Truck Series. Things are getting really exciting here. I'm trying not to get too excited, but I have a feeling things are going to get pretty interesting here. I can't believe we're not going to see another caution.
Crafton must have done something to his truck because he's coming through. He's not hugging the white line. He's not over the white line. He's passed 2 or 3 good trucks, so I'm curious to see where he's at right now.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm actually surprised to see that 88 truck gaining as much speed as they are, and I'm surprised we haven't heard Crafton complaining more than he is, because he's usually pretty vocal. Not in a bad way, but he is usually pretty vocal on the radio and letting his team know what he needs, and he clearly had expressed that to them, and they figured that out. So
well, I never knew that because I always raced against him. I never got to hear this side of it, but now you know he was a complainer. That's what you said.
No, never mind. I'm not even gonna.
But
It's
I mean,
fine. It's fine.
It's come down to the nitty-gritty right now. So anybody can run that 18. I mean, they're going to have to start working together and draft and get up there.
Well, I'm hearing now that the caution is actually out on the racetrack, so I may have just told the future right here at the table. As I said, I would expect to see another caution. But while the yellow is out and things are slowing down, I want to take one brief moment to highlight two drivers who are really impressive to me. We talk about guys that don't have a lot of experience here at Pocono and not having any practice. Well, what about guys that don't even have a lot of experience in a truck? A guy like Max Gutierrez, this is only his third start in the truck series. He has a top 10 finish already in his second start.
Unbelievable.
It's amazing. The challenges of getting in a truck, can you describe that challenge of making that jump into this series?
Well, especially the venues of tracks he's approaching, they're tough racetracks. They're not just any short track that you're used to running or a road course where you have a lot of runoff. You're talking tight racetracks and 2.5 mile tracks. And the trucks, when you get a draft at Pocono, I mean, you get a draft. I mean, you hear your motor at 5,000, 6,000 RPM go to 8,000 RPM or 9,000. I mean, it pulls along good. So it's something to get used to. And I heard of him when he first started, and he's already got a top 10. He's going to be a kid to watch.
Well, hey, and might I just say, the fact that we're not hearing about some of these guys during the day today usually means it's a good day. They're having a smooth sailing day, a complete race. That's what you want when you're just starting out in the series.
Exactly. Who's the other one we're going to talk about?
I was Armani Williams. This is only his second start. He's in that 43 truck, so keep an eye on him as well.
Perfect.
Absolutely. Well, things are getting interesting. Less than 20 laps to go. The caution is out. In just a few, we'll find out who those 10 drivers are that are fighting for that truck series championship. Send it back to the racetrack.
You owe me $1.
Smith for the lead. Smith has been the dominant truck in that 18, in that white truck. Currently lined up second behind Preece in the 17. What a story Ryan Preece has been this season. And that 17 team in general, they've won 2 of the last 3 races. One at Knoxville with Todd Gilliland in the seat, and then one at Nashville with Ryan Preece behind the wheel. And Zane Smith coming back to pit road, our regular season champ. They had some issues earlier, and looks like they're going to make another adjustment.
Zane's been telling his crew that the throttle's been sticking a little bit. Josh, have you heard anything more on what's going on, if they're able to make progress on that?
Yeah, that's exactly it. They're having an issue with the throttle, and they weren't going to come in and fix it unless a caution came out. They were going to battle through it. But remember, this is a brand new truck. Didn't have a chance to figure this thing out before they got out there, so it was going to be a process for the 38 team.
And you saw the 99 Ben Rhodes pitting as well. The last pit stop, he came and took fuel only, so he was taking advantage of this caution to get those tires on, as Trevor had mentioned. That fuel only didn't quite work out for him.
He'd fallen outside the top 15, so he had nothing to lose by coming to pit road for sure.
We mentioned the change for the lead. Ryan Preece getting around Chandler Smith, and while in commercial break, here's a look at it, and well, they battled, but finally Preece secured it.
Really using that top lane. It's not often you see him use the outside to make that pass. Huge run off of turn 1 here to clear Chandler.
Chandler thought about jumping to the outside himself, but Ryan said, no, I'm going to cover that spot.
And here's why we are under caution. There you see the 12 of Spencer Boyd going around and bringing out the caution. Record Rack, the sponsor on that 12 truck, is Spencer Boyd. Bucks for the Brave. They provide an all expense paid hunting trip for recipients from 8 different military and first responder categories. And I know this was a big day for them to be on that truck, and certainly great efforts for our military and first responders.
I'm just glad he missed those yellow barriers down there. I was in the California race with Brandon Jones when he clipped those barriers, and that cleanup, you got to vacuum up the whole beach at that point. So thanks for missing those barriers there, Spencer.
Our Blue Emu race summary as we have 16 laps to go in this one from Pocono. Chandler Smith's been the guy, really has been up front. Zane Smith looked good early, but Chandler Smith has the dominant truck. He pitted late in stage 2, and then Christian Eckes inherited the lead and ended up winning stage 2.
Yeah, for all these contenders right now, Vince, there are going to be no more pit stops. We saw obviously Ben Rhodes come down pit road because he'd not put tires on. Zane Smith because he was having some issues, but I think all these guys have what they're going to have to the end of this race here. Now it's just among them to fight it out.
Tip of the hat to DGR, David Gilliland Racing. We mentioned having won 2 of the last 3 with Todd Gilliland and Ryan Preece winning Nashville. But the strides we have seen that DGR organization take, Chad Johnston crew chiefing with Ryan Preece today, but they have really done a nice job moving forward.
Well, and Chad won the ARCA race yesterday with Taylor Gray in the 17. You know, they had some different strategy, but they were able to pull off the win, and they did win that, or they were the fastest in the first stage yesterday as well. So he's got Pocono figured out pretty well, I'd say.
Yeah, longtime Cup crew chief Chad Johnston bringing that experience to the Camping World Truck Series.
Yeah, 3 wins already in the ARCA series for Taylor Gray and Chad Johnston.
Well, these restarts, and Trevor, you mentioned it earlier, they provide chaos but also opportunity, and we're about to see that here. And whether or not it's the final restart of the race, we don't know that, but certainly it's go time for these guys.
It is, and you know, when you have somebody aggressive like Carson Hocevar, Corey Heim behind you on the front row, you're kind of at the mercy of what they choose to do here. If they push you, great, you can get the lead. If they choose to put you 3 wide, then you could be in trouble. So it almost races like a super speedway at this point. On restarts, you need that help to lock up and get out front.
Speaking of choosing, they'll choose. Do they want the top lane or the bottom lane as they come to the choose zone here?
And normally up front, the guy on the inside is the most vulnerable, because if the guy from third makes it 3 wide or even farther back, then he's stuck in the middle, and sometimes that's really hard to go. We saw that in the ARCA race yesterday, how the middle really got shuffled back. So it's going to be interesting to see what goes on. We see Ryan Preece is taking the outside, which we thought he would.
Downstairs to Jamie.
I like what you just said, Vince, that chaos and opportunity that comes with restarts. For Christian Eckes in the number 98, he's already had the chaos, and he has his head down a little bit. The team telling him over the radio, it's all right, pick your head up. You're in 9th place right now. You're capable of running inside the top 3. You have the opportunity here on this restart to get yourself back up there. All you have to do is be smart. For Christian, he has a new spotter this weekend. He has Britt Anderson on his side, so he run his ARCA championship back with, and they just decided to make the change as they get ready for the playoffs, make sure they have all the communication and all the tools that they can, but it's the first race that they're working together. Josh?
And Chandler Smith, who lost the lead to Ryan Preece during that last run, said he's just too tight right now. He doesn't have the center turn through 3 like he had before. Well, his crew chief, Danny Stockman, told him, hey, you got what you got. You got some damage on the rear bumper from that last restart, but just go out and get him and be confident.
We've seen good speed from both those trucks, the 17 of Preece and the 18 of Chandler Smith, and whichever one wins this restart right here might play their hand in winning the race. Radio from the 18.
Take up the school, man. You got this. You can do this today, okay? Just take up the school. You know how to do it. Let's chugga, choo-choo on them.
Danny Stockman, a little pep talk from the crew chief.
Well, when he says choo-choo, they got a little KBM train on the bottom lane there with Corey Heim behind him. He knows he's going to help him push out to the front.
John Hunter Nemechek is behind Heim.
That's right. We got a long train.
Yeah, 3 in a row from KBM on that inside line.
That would be a choo-choo-choo, wouldn't it?
That would. Something tells me, though, it may not work out that way. You see the turn 1, and it's easy to jump out of line there.
14 laps left at Pocono.
KBM train staying in line, though. See Ankrum being the first one to jump to the bottom.
Chandler Smith gets the lead. Heim looking to jump up and challenge for second, but it looks like Preece is going to secure that spot.
That was well executed by KBM right there.
Hocevar into the 3rd position. Heim slots in 4th with Nemechek 5th. Austin Hill up as high as he's been all day in that 6th position.
Now Nemechek, we saw him duck to the bottom beneath his teammate Corey Heim. Side by side now in the short chute.
Nemechek in that purple truck. That's the winning truck from a year ago. Can he get his way back up to the very front and challenge for a back-to-back win at Pocono?
Derek Kraus at the side of the screen there, 17 points behind Matt Crafton, with Matt having that issue on the pit stop. See a little smoke as these drivers swerve back to the right when they're trying to break the air from the truck behind them. These trucks are not clearance necessarily to turn right, Phil. They're made to go left, and when you do that on the straightaway, sometimes you have that fender rub.
They don't want to turn right, that's for sure.
Trevor mentioned Derek Kraus below the cut line right now and trying to gain positions and points on Matt Crafton. Right now, Kraus runs 7th on the right, and there's Crafton on the left-hand side of your screen back in 13th.
Yeah, basically, Matt just needs to stay on the racetrack, Vince, not have any issues, not have any flat tires, not getting run into. With that gap, that means he could lose 17 positions from where he is right now. He's running 13th. He could go all the way back to 30th. Problem is there's 32 trucks on the lead lap right now.
That's DiBenedetto ahead of Crafton. DiBenedetto's first Truck Series start here at Pocono, but a veteran in the Cup Series, so he's been here many times before. Stuart Friesen trying to get up there in the mix in that red and blue 52 with Tyler Ankrum squeezed right in between them.
Saw a little debris fly up there in the tunnel turn and get on the front of the 16 truck. It looks like it might be covering a brake duct, but not the radiator, so shouldn't be too big of an issue there.
There's a look at Kraus, who runs 7th.
Is that smoking?
Looks like maybe he got some smoke out of the left front.
Yeah, tire up there. Maybe got together on the restart with somebody or another issue. Doesn't seem like the fender's pushed in too far, but definitely smoke off the left front there.
Maybe a wheel bearing if it's not a tire rub or something like that.
You got to believe that smoke's on the mind of Derek Kraus, because he doesn't know exactly what has caused it and gives him cause for concern as Nemechek looks to move on his teammate again. 19 radio, Derek Kraus.
Power steering. 10-4. Man up here. Got about 12 to go. Do what you can. Don't wreck it. If you need to come, they'll be ready.
If you're going to lose power steering at a racetrack, Pocono is okay, actually, because you've got a bigger steering box here. It's not a short track with an 8-to-1 ratio. Typically, you'll run a 10 or 12-to-1, and the corners are more sweeping, so I would definitely think turn 1 and turn 3 will be the most challenging, but he said, man up, get after it.
Yeah, but
work out.
For him to go forward is going to be hard.
It will
and
be
that's
tough.
what he needs to do right now, as you see him 17 points below the cut line.
Austin Hill tracking John Hunter Nemechek for 5th. 10 laps left.
Last lap, we see a lot of swerving out of Chandler Smith trying to break that draft. Ryan Preece had run him down to about 0.2 of a second back and got to him, and with that dirty air that Chandler's creating, it's just making it really tough on Preece. As Preece works the top, I've seen Chandler kind of adapt his line to take that air away from him. He learned the first time when Ryan Preece got by him, he was working that top, and so Chandler's going to try not to make that mistake again, keep him in dirty air.
Going to break from Pocono, but we'll keep it side by side. You will not miss a lap. It's the regular season finale.
Laps to go here from Pocono Raceway. You said it, that 18 truck continues to be fast, but what about the 17 of Ryan Preece now giving him a challenge?
Yeah, we went to break and come back and the 17 took us. I don't know, he's got running back down again right now, but the one's going to have the rest of the 10 laps, the hardest 10 laps is Kraus. He's lost his power steering, you see it smoking out of his left front, and that's a tough racetrack because you got a lot of corner and keeping the wheel in. So. Yeah, it's going to be a good finish here. I mean, I don't know if he's just lining them up. And the 18, when he warmed his tires up down the straightaway, that's putting more heat and more friction into it. So I think if the 17 just runs his line, give him 3 laps.
Well, and from a playoff standpoint, when you look at the bubble right now, Matt Crafton entered this race 19 points to the good. He now sits 18 points to the good. So he's sitting pretty right now in these final 10 laps. You think he's comfortable where he is?
He has to be. That's why they ran all year long. I mean, you can't expect to win a race and do everything because you haven't been running good all year. You just got to capitalize on what you did this race and build on it and be better for the next one.
Well, we mentioned that 17 of Ryan Preece, as you see him right now, challenging Chandler Smith there for the lead. Ryan Preece, he already has a win already in the Truck Series this season. He won 2 races ago at Nashville. The last 6 winners, in fact, in this series were not series regulars.
And that's tough. I mean, that's why you can get in there by points right now, because if those are different winners or, you know, 2 or 3 races, you can get in there. But, I mean, it's tough. I mean, that's why you can get in there by points right now, because if those are different winners or, you know, 2 or 3 races, you can get in there by points right now, because if those are different winners or, past winners, it changes everything up right now.
That really does. I mean, with the playoff format that we're looking at, when you have that many guys come in that aren't series regulars, that shakes things up. But like you said, does breed a lot of opportunity as to what we're seeing right now for guys like Derek Kraus.
And it's hard for a guy to come and do part-time because you know you're playing against their points. You know you're playing with their livelihood in the championship. So it's definitely a different race. As the 17 is going to run him clean because he's a guy that just only runs a few races, so he's not going to go up there and move him out of the way for the win.
Sure, he knows what's on the line, but he wants to win just as much. So let's see how these final laps shake down for Pocono.
Welcome back, Camping World Truck Series racing from Pocono on Fox. Continuing during the commercial break there to watch Ryan Preece pursue Chandler Smith for the lead. 7 laps to go here at Pocono, and at times we've gotten the impression that Preece was faster, but Chandler Smith has been able to hold him off, and now Smith's got a little bit of a gap on Preece, maybe a truck width, and here comes truck length, and here comes Corey Heim now into the mix to put a little pressure on Ryan Preece.
And Hocevar is not completely out of this battle as well.
Focus on your weak spots here. I got your back.
Jamie on Chandler Smith.
And for Chandler Smith, that was Danny Stockman, his crew chief. The conversation before that was Chandler Smith telling the team that he's having a fuel pressure issue. The sensor is telling him that there's a problem inside of that, and they're telling him just slosh it around on the front straightaway, move it around, see what you can do, keep your head down, and focus on your job.
He's moving it around, there's no doubt about it.
He's listening well, that's for sure.
He's trying to stay in front of Ryan Preece, and sometimes that means turning right, sometimes it's turning left, as you watch Danny Stockman sweat it out from up top the box. And what a terrific crew chief he is. A championship crew chief at both the truck and Xfinity levels with Austin Dillon.
Looks to me like the 17's a little bit better off of turn 3, kind of closes that gap, and then everywhere else Chandler's able to stretch that out a little bit. So if Chandler can keep working on, we heard, work on your weak spots. Well, what is that? They're looking at data and saying, where's he getting beat at? And right now it's turn 3, so that he's going to focus on that and try not to look at that fuel pressure gauge too much unless that thing cuts out on him.
5 to go here at Pocono.
Yeah, I'd say ignore that fuel pressure gauge right now with 5 to go.
And for Chandler Smith, if Corey Heim could get up there and challenge Ryan Preece for second, it would slow Preece down a little bit and maybe give Smith an even bigger advantage as he tries to close this out. We've had 12 different winners in 15 races this season, and the top 3, Chandler Smith, Ryan Preece, and Corey Heim, have all been winners this season. The battle for 4th, well, that 42 truck, he has not yet scored his first career win, and he is in that 4th position trying to hold off the 4 of John Hunter Nemechek.
John Hunter Nemechek realizes with 5 laps to go, he's going to have to make something happen here to try to grab onto those front 4, but front 3.
And as they race like that, those front 3 get a little bit smaller in their windshield. Creates that gap for sure.
Oh, Austin Hill diving down low, making it 3 wide, going into 1, and Hill's going to challenge Nemechek. Not going to get him here as John Hunter secures the 4th spot. Hill and Hocevar now side by side for 5th.
Perfect scenario for Austin Hill that time with those guys too wide, punching such a big hole in the air. Unfortunately, didn't make it work, but Nemechek did grab that 4th spot.
There's the top 3, Chandler Smith, Ryan Preece, Corey Heim in the 51. Smith won earlier this season, snatched that victory at Las Vegas. Preece won a couple of weeks ago at Nashville. Corey Heim has won twice this year.
I think Smith's figured something out in turn 3, Trevor. It looks like he's been a lot better the last couple times through there.
Yeah, that was definitely his weak point, and now he's been able to equalize. And as I said, he's just keeping the 17 in his dirty air with that big arc into the corner. He's still sealing up the bottom, but you'll see him slide up on exit here. He wasn't doing that earlier. He was holding the bottom, and now there's nothing Ryan Preece can do. I've seen him moving around all over the racetrack trying to find clean air. The best thing that Ryan could try to do is maybe back up his corner and get off a little bit better, a little lower. But he's under attack right now from Corey Heim looking to his outside.
That's certainly going to help Chandler Smith if Heim can get up there. And now Heim had to back out momentarily, and that's brought John Hunter Nemechek into the picture for 3rd. Can Nemechek grab that third spot from his teammate Corey Heim?
Talk about KBM's dominance here. 6 of the last 7 races they went to victory lane, and they have 3 trucks in the top 4 right now.
Man, so frustrating for Corey Heim. I've been in that spot where you think you can make the pass, you try to do it, and it just checks you up for a split second. When you lose that momentum, right then somebody's on your back bumper looking to steal that position away, like John Hunter Nemechek's going to do here on entry to turn 1.
Nemechek into third.
Carson Hocevar is going to take advantage of that as well. Corey Heim is beating himself up for jumping to the outside of that tunnel turn now.
Radio from the 51 of Heim with less than 2 to go.
I think we got a problem here, guys. Yep, 10-4. Something just came out from underneath the truck here. Careful, careful.
Well, the last thing Chandler Smith wants is a caution. Keep an eye on that 51 if indeed they do have an issue here in these final laps.
I thought I saw something fly out from under that truck around the start-finish line on that previous lap that they were talking about, but it's probably out of the way now. So
Chandler Smith coming to the white flag. 2.5 miles left.
Going to catch a lapper here getting into turn 1. It's going to make them stay out a little wide unless it checks up, but Ryan Preece all over the back bumper of Chandler Smith.
Preece taking a look as they go into turn 1. Smith able to hold him off. It's a 2-truck race now. There's a big gap to third. Down as they head toward the tunnel turn in 2.
Preece was able to keep that truck right on the bottom at the exit of 1 here. Didn't gain anything though on Chandler Smith.
Through the tunnel turn and headed toward 3.
One more corner for Chandler Smith here to go.
Preece trying to get closer, but it doesn't look like he's going to be able to make that move. Smith holding him off. Brand new truck for this 18 team. Danny Stockman has brought for his driver Chandler Smith, and Smith has made it pay off for the 2nd time this season. Chandler Smith is a winner in the Camping World Truck Series.
This continues that KBM dominance. 7 out of the last 8 races won by this team. No practice might have played to their favor this weekend with the weather early, but now they've got a checker flag to take home.
3 of the top 4.
Nice work, guys. Good work, boys. I like this momentum we got going to play on.
Yeah, momentum indeed for the 20-year-old from Georgia. And KBM's got to feel pretty good about things as well. 3 of the top 4 spots. And Matt Crafton was able to survive the bubble. Crafton finishes 15th, and he will be the final driver, securing a spot in the 10-driver playoff. So Grant Infinger, who finishes 17th, will be 9th in the playoff standings, and Crafton is the last one in.
Crafton is glad that that bubble is finally over. He has lived on that thing for the last, I don't know, 7 weeks, and I'm sure he's glad to be making it into the playoffs and get a reset here.
Great effort, though, you know, Vince, by Derek Cross, especially losing the power steering late in the going there. Still managed a top 10 finish.
Winning the regular season finale, what kind of momentum does that give you, Trevor, headed to the playoffs?
Well, it's huge, and really he's the only one in the playoffs with multiple wins other than Zane Smith, who had some troubles early in this race. So to win going to this next race at IRP, it's huge to carry that momentum for the whole group, for the whole KBM organization to get back on track. I know around Charlotte, Kyle said, we got to get our stuff together here, guys, and it looks to me like they've turned a corner.
And Zane Smith, the regular season champ, had his issues today. So, I mean, finishes 13th. So I'll let you know, I mean, as we talked about earlier, just because you're the regular season champ doesn't mean you're going to cruise your way to the title.
We talk about Zane getting 15 bonus points. Well, we got 5 bonus points for winning for Chandler Smith, plus 10 for second in the regular season. So he's going to get 15 more points.
So cool to get that checkered flag. Boy, so much goes into it from all those guys back at the shop, as they often thank, but the infrastructure of the organization is so critical to what happens on race day, and that checkered flag represents all that hard work by so many. Josh Sims is with the winner, Chandler Smith.
Chandler Smith, you finished the regular season on a high note with a victory. You had to hold off Ryan Preece to get it done. How did you do it?
God's good. It's God's timing. We've been going through a little bit of a struggle here recently, but just when we need to shine, we start shining. So I can't thank KBM. This Charge Me Toyota Tundra was fast today. It was really good. It was a little tight. Had problems getting through the gears. Sorry to the 51 team, but also thank you to the 51 team. This one's just as much as mine and it is yours. So just can't thank the good Lord. This is awesome. About to have a little baby boy coming soon. This is for you when you look back at this.
Congratulations on that. Now, how does this set you up for the postseason now?
Big, because we didn't have a lot of playoff points going into the playoffs, and today we got one stage win, won the race, so I think we're going to be looking pretty sharp going IRP.
Congratulations, Chandler.
He led 49 of the 60 today in getting his second win of the season, and this is what that round of 10 or that playoff leaderboard looks like as we start our playoffs, a 7-race run to the championship with 10 drivers.
Yeah, Chandler Smith really cut into that margin with 16 points today. He also had a stage win, so 10 bonus points for the point position in the regular season, 5 points for winning, and that one stage point for the stage.
And of course, all 10 of those drivers accumulate playoff points as well. We mentioned the 15 for Zane Smith. Second place gets 10 playoff points, third place 8, 7th, 6th, etc. right on down. Matt Crafton the 10th of 10, but gotta be breathing a little bit easier, I would think, Jamie.
Well, you just said it for Matt Crafton. He is in, but it was not with perfect execution today. That was one of the big things you wanted to talk about pre-race. What needs to happen before the playoffs start?
We had these guys did everything they were supposed to do. They worked their rear ends off at TRD and worked on the simulator, just trying to work on getting our setup and stuff better. And we had a very, very good truck. It was really good on short run. We had a way better truck than where we finished, but you need to be aggressive on the starts, and I couldn't put myself in any bad situations, and you have to put yourself in bad situations on restarts to be able to get the spot. So I would have to kind of wait for everything to settle down and then pass people, earn it, instead of just being a wild man on restart. So we just had to keep the 19 in grasp right there, and hopefully we didn't get a new winner, but these guys, they worked really hard.
Now that you're in it and you do get to race for a championship again in your career, what can you do different as a driver? You talk about the aggression. How do you approach this next string of races?
Take the gloves off, do whatever it takes, and I bring all my friends. They're in yellow fire suits, so don't care about the rest.
The 3-time champ still alive. He's made the playoffs each and every year that the playoff system has been in place, and he's going to have another shot at it, Matt Crafton. But this day belongs to Chandler Smith. Wins for the second time this season and his 4th career win. Chandler Smith wins at Pocono.
Chandler Smith, second win of the season for the young driver, and he was already locked in, but he solidifies that 10 spots of those playoff guys. They were as they are as we entered this race, so Matt Crafton did make the cut there. Are you surprised at all to see those 10 drivers being the ones competing for that championship?
Not at all. They all deserve it. I mean, Crafton, like you said, he's going to have to get his truck a little better. And I don't know if I believe him that he said he was saving his stuff. And I never known Crafton to do that. But I got to congratulate Danny Stockman. I mean, he was my car chief back in the day at Harvick's deal, and my truck never ran that fast there, so I better talk to him about it.
Yeah, that 18 was really fast today. When you can watch those restarts and just notice the speed, given, as we heard them say after the race, how aggressive those restarts needed to be, it really spoke to how fast that truck was.
Oh, and you got to get through turn 2, and he was doing it phenomenally. That's where he was getting all his speed. I mean, if you can get a good arc in there and to come across the guy's nose, the guy's going to have to lift, and you can basically go through the 3/4 to wide open. So that's where he was making most of his time, to getting through the tunnel turn up over to turn 3.
Well, seeing Chandler Smith celebrate that win, we were chatting here in the studio, and somebody asked, what does that feel like? Getting that checkered flag? I mean, obviously knowing this is such a big race. Describe that winning feeling.
It's just a feeling that's like the best roller coaster ride you've ever had. I want to do it again. When does it? I hope it never stops. And I'm very fortunate enough that my wife's kept every one of them checkered flags. You know, I feel kind of bad now watching these kids give them to the kids in the stands. So I was kind of greedy back then. I wish I hadn't done that, because what am I going to do with 52 flags? But I got a lot more of those. But it's no other. I mean, that's what you set your life up for. I mean, my wife's the one who told me to build my first race car. And that's the least I can do is give her checkered flags.
You could probably wallpaper an entire room with 52 checkered flags, no?
Maybe.
Throw a few pole flags in there maybe or something, and you can make a nice little, we'll work on it.
With our bigger house, we had our trophies with the flags, and now we got a little smaller house, you know, to save my retirement money. I am retired now.
Well, as we've already established, though, these drivers never retire. So, and 52 trophies, I'm gonna have to believe you need quite a shed to put all those in.
How do you know they were in a shed?
Well, we're going to go back to the racetrack, but we'll keep you updated from here in Studio 3. Let's hear from some of our other drivers who didn't quite make that playoff cut line.
Championship match, plus the New Day versus the Viking Raiders. It's an all-new edition of Friday Night SmackDown, live at 8 Eastern, 7 Central on Fox.
The 20-year-old from Talking Rock, Georgia, Chandler Smith, the winner. And as he said, he's got a little one on the way, and maybe someday he'll look back and see this great day in which Dad enjoyed. And on the other side, well, there's always heartbreak when there's celebration. Somebody else isn't feeling so great. Derek Kraus just missed the playoff run. Josh?
Yeah, and Derek, what more did you need, not just today, but all season long, to have changed this result?
Just cleaned up a couple things like at Las Vegas or Texas when we got taken out. There's a couple races that we could have improved on where we were better, but overall it's what happened. And today I don't know what happened. The power steering went away, just parts failure. And just move on and hang our heads high, and we'll go on in the next 10 races.
Thanks, Derek. Jamie?
Zane Smith, our regular season champion for the 2022 season with 3 wins this season. Now looking ahead to the playoffs, what do you carry with you?
Yeah, obviously a huge props to FRM and all of our sponsors involved throughout this regular season. Freight Auctions, MRC Construction, Speedco. Obviously brought us some really fast Fords this year. So, man, today was a major struggle. Started out from the green flag to pretty much the end of stage 2. Our throttle was sticking, and everything that we were doing wasn't fixing it. So a little worried there at times, because I knew that I just had to have a couple points. And then you see the 18 up there as well. So yeah, long day. Once we did get it right, still fought. Really tight truck, but there's no giving up. This race is just so short to try to get your truck right. But I'm glad we're on to the playoffs and ready to get this season started.
The word he used, Josh, when he first got his helmet off was miserable for today. But still, the regular season champion. To you.
And Ben Rhodes heading into the postseason, but not exactly the way you want to head in. How do you change the way things have been going as you reset?
Well, we just got to be faster. We were absolutely terrible today. I don't know why. I think we're on the splitter all day long, and lack of practice compounded some of the other issues we were fighting. So all in all, my attended Toyota team just needs to regroup and refocus, know that everything resets and that there's no reason to keep having any issues here. So we just need speed. Maybe we can borrow some from our teammates. They were pretty fast today, and you know, congrats to ThorSport Racing. All 4 trucks in the championship hunt is pretty special, especially how tough the competition's been getting these last few years in the Truck Series. So Truck Series is alive and well and strong. Don't know about Pocono though. I think I would rather do the championship, like the regular season championship at a short track, maybe Martinsville or something. That'd be more my style.
Thanks for your time, Ben. Jamie?
Well, for Carson Hocevar, he looks ahead now to the playoffs with the top 5 finish off of today. We talk about momentum, everything that this team has done to back you for the season. What kind of race are you expecting next week?
It's the same, probably. It's tough to win these races. We got a little damage, which hurt our straightaway speed, but we were already off on straightaway speed. We kind of set ourselves up here with something we've really never done at these type of racetracks, just to kind of get ready for playoffs. And we're committed all in or all out, and that's how we really are all year, Ben. We're right there. It seems like, you know, constantly, but at the same time, you know, we could top 5 them to death, but you know, it's a terrible way to look at it, right? I want to win a championship. I want to win races first. You know, that's my priority, and most of the time championships take care of themselves. So that's my priority for just taking it one race at a time, just trying not to lose anything, but take advantage of every opportunity we can for positions, points, and just set ourselves up for win. But to be all over the board, you know, from a road course to here, to Nashville, you know, all over the board, and we're in the top 5. It seems like every week is really a testament to these Team 42, WWEX Racing, Worldwide, Premier Security. You know, it's a really big family. Al Nice is at home. You know, Nice Motorsports is a really big family, and we just keep growing.
They're consistent, if nothing else, and I like that. All in or all out. Josh?
And speaking of consistency, Ty Majeski has been strong all season long. How does that set you up now for the postseason?
I'm excited, Josh. Excited to have this opportunity. First full-time season with ThorSport, and it's been a great one so far. We've been consistent, all different types of racetracks, so that's something that we're excited about as a team, and have a lot of great partners in Road Ranger and Cincinnati and American Racing to make this program go. Duke, Ron, Thorson, can't thank them enough for giving me this opportunity. Feel good about where our team is at. A lot of strong races for us as a 66 team headed into the playoffs. We have IRP, Richmond, 2 short tracks, and then Kansas, where we finished second to the 38. So excited about what we got going, and hopefully we can make a good playoff run.
66, definitely one of the teams to watch in the postseason, Jamie.
And Christian Eckes in the top 10 now for the playoffs with some bonus points today. You won the second stage, but we talked about this pre-race, wholesale changes to all of the ThorSport trucks. When the team comes together, does that, and you're able to profit from it, what does that tell you about this next string of races?
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it for sure. Everybody at ThorSport Racing is working really hard. Yeah, we struggled today still. We've always kind of struggled here as far as a company, but me and Ty ran okay, and we got crafted in the playoffs. So that was the biggest thing. You know, all 4 trucks into the playoffs is huge, and yeah, just can't thank everybody enough. Curb Records, Duke and Rhonda, Toyota Racing, just everybody involved, and now we get to go race for championships. So just really looking forward to it.
And he mentioned that 40% of the top 10 in the playoffs, they all come from ThorSport.
And Grant Enfinger heading into the playoffs, and I know you've been talking all season long about finding the speed to challenge for a championship. Do you feel like you guys are getting in there as we head in?
After a day like today, it's a little bit frustrating. First and foremost, got to say thank you to everybody that stuck behind this. Champion Power Equipment, Maury Gallagher, Mike Beam, Ron Booth. Everybody at GMS Fabrication, they built a brand new truck for here, and we never were able to see what it did. So everything that happened to us today was on us. We're going to take it back. We're going to learn from it. We're not going to get down. The good thing about this regular season is it's over, and we've made it to the off season. We have learned a lot throughout this year. We're getting transitioned again. Jeff Hensley did a great job on the box, battling through the stuff that was honestly self-inflicted. So, you know, I'm frustrated right now, but we're not going to get down. We're going to work hard, and we're going to be ready for IRP.
Thanks for your time, and good luck in the playoffs, Grant. Guys?
All right, 10 will run for the championship beginning at IRP. Let's take these 10. Give me 2 or 3 guys that you want to keep an eye on, Phil.
Well, I certainly love Zane Smith and the job he's done all year long, and Chandler Smith is certainly going in the right direction as we get to the playoffs. A little bit concerned about Ben Rhodes. He had 5 top 5 finishes in the first 6 races this year. Then 8th is his best finish in the last 10. So that's a little bit on the other side of it. But I think it's going to be a great playoffs. And you never know what's going to happen. John Howard Nemechek, we certainly can't count him out either.
Who do you like, Trevor?
Man, I think it's what have you done for me lately? I think the ThorSport guys have got to figure some things out. Chandler Smith and Zane Smith, as Phil said, are trending up for me, but also Carson Hocevar just keeps finding himself in that top 5 every week, and that's what you have to do in the playoffs. Because these guys have checked the box. They're in the playoffs now, but guess what? Now you got to stay in the playoffs, and you don't want to be the first one out.
Well, Zane certainly, obviously, and has earned it with 3 wins, but I guarantee you after the performance they had today, 13th, not happy, and makes you wonder a little bit about what's coming in the coming weeks. Chandler Smith, the one guy who's coming in off a win, championship crew chief. I think Chandler Smith's young enough to not be scared or not be intimidated. But if you got a sleeper, how about I like Majeski as a sleeper. Who do you think might sneak in there and create some
I like Majeski too, and Christian Eckes certainly has shown some flashes of brilliance as well. So I think it's up for grabs right now. I think Zane Smith, because of all the playoff points and the bonus points, I think he's got to pass. Remember, we're going to throw 2 guys out after 3 races. We're going to cut the field back to 8. So it's just got to be in that top 8.
7 races in the playoffs. It begins next Friday night at Raceway Park in Indianapolis, then Richmond, and we wrap up round 1 at Kansas City. Bristol on a Thursday, Talladega on the Super Speedway, no place like it, and then we'll determine the Final 4 at Homestead and then race for the championship November 4th at Phoenix. Of course, next week, as mentioned, back to Indianapolis Raceway Park, and I know some fans are very excited about that return. It has created so much great racing in the past, including in this very series, and we'll begin next week with qualifying at 4:30, and you see the schedule throughout the course of the day. Another one of the drivers that's made the playoffs is Stuart Friesen, and he's with Jamie.
And he is right smack in the middle of the top 10 and 5th. You finished 15th today. As you think about the playoffs now, how does it change the way you approach these races?
Oh, we just go out and try to win them. I mean, that's all we can do. That's what we tried to do today, and we had a pit road penalty. Just a bummer. Our Halmar TRD Pro was good. It wasn't great, but I feel like we could have ran top 5 today pretty easily. And then, after the penalty, we just got caught in the back and can't really do much in dirty air. The race is so short. I mean, I feel like the ARCA race should probably be about 60 laps, and this race should be 80, with the way our day went. If we were leading, I probably would have been happy with 60. But proud of our guys. I mean, another fast truck. We ran the top 5 for the first 2 stages, and everything's going according to plan. I saw the tire roll out in front of the truck, and Brandon dove to get it, and he corralled it and just almost kind of fell over the wall, and his toe touched the ground. And I thought, man, I hope nobody else saw that, but apparently not.
Still a solid day for you as you look forward. Thank you.
NASCAR doesn't miss much. You can't hope that they didn't see it. It's interesting, I think, as we talked about some of the guys that we consider to be the favorites, etc. John Hunter Nemechek's name wasn't mentioned by either one of you. What do you think?
He's in that mid-range. I think we all expect John Hunter Nemechek to be a front runner, right? Like, he should be the name up there with Zane Smith, Chandler Smith, that we're talking about as the biggest threat. And lately, he hasn't been that huge threat. But he's too big of a name and too much of a threat to be a sleeper, right? He's in that mid category of it could go either way. And we saw that last year in the playoffs where he came in with 6 wins and then he goes on and we're like, all right, John Hunter Nemechek, and then it just didn't go his way. And I think that's kind of how this season's been. He could be a threat any weekend. He finished 3rd today. But they're just not having those breakthrough races like they had last year.
Well, let's go to him, and we'll get with Josh here and find out exactly what Nemechek thinks about his championship hopes. Josh?
Yeah, John Hunter, and the guys in the booth are talking about you being a threat now that the playoffs are starting. How much of a threat can you be?
I hope that we're the one that everyone's chasing every week. I told myself all year this year that I didn't want to peak too early, and we haven't peaked too early, only winning 1 regular season race. Had a really fast Yahoo Toyota Tundra TRD Pro today, and feel like we're starting to come on strong at the right time. So all 3 KBM trucks looked really fast today. We were all up front pretty much all day, and one of the only teams that I feel like could pass a lot of trucks coming from the back to the front a few times after different strategies. So looking forward to starting the playoffs next week. Looking forward to trying to go get our chance in the Final 4, and I'd much rather win 5 races like I told you earlier in the playoffs than in the regular season. So let's go win a championship.
Thanks and good luck, John Hunter. Guys?
We're about to find out, but I think he, like the rest, have a little bit of work to do before they get there. I think there's one team that's feeling really good about themselves right now, and that's that 18 team of Chandler Smith after winning today. Next Friday from Indianapolis begins with qualifying at 4:30, Race Hub at 5:30, the ARCA race at 6, and then race day and the Truck Series race. For Trevor Bain, Phil Parsons, Josh Sims, Jamie Howe, I'm Vince Welch. Thanks for being with us. Caitlin Vincey and the gang from Charlotte on the other side of this break.
Officially on as the playoffs will begin next week. We've heard from most of our playoff contenders there. All of them not very happy with their race trucks after that Pocono race.
I think we got some sleepers that are the Thor guys talking about how they had to protect their points today, and a couple of them said they had pretty good trucks.
Yeah, all 4 of those Thor Sport trucks there in the playoffs. And like you mentioned, they went into this race with an agenda, and that was get Matt Crafton into the playoffs, and they did just that. So successful day to be Thor Sport. And like you said, very impressive to see all 4 of those trucks.
4 of them.
That's not an easy feat.
Not at all. So my hat's off to them. And it's going to be a heck of a, what, 7 races left? 8?
That's right.
7. It's going to be cool.
7 races. You know, and it's funny, we were just talking about John Hunter Nemechek. They were mentioning him on the broadcast. You said it, we have a few sleepers, and it's funny to even call John Hunter a sleeper, but when you compare this point in the season to last year, all we were talking about was John Hunter, and then we enter the playoffs, and he kind of hit a bit of a plateau there, I could say.
Nothing surprised me after what Tony Stewart did. You know, didn't win a race, didn't do anything, comes to the playoffs, and he wins 5 in a row. So
that's a good point.
Anything can happen.
And anything can happen, as we've seen in this series, for sure. And given how quickly some of those trucks have been able to make adjustments and work something out, I think it's going to be interesting. Not to mention we have IRP next. So we're going to a racetrack.
My favorite track.
Tell me about it then, because we don't have a lot of recent experience at this place for the Truck Series.
Well, I mean, it's just a track you run right up against the wall, and if anything happens, somebody sneezes or whatever, you can't get out of it. You're into the wreck. So you can run low, but it's more like slide jobs. I call this asphalt dirt track. To make a pass, you got to go down to the bottom and slide up in front. And the guys, when you slide up in front, don't like it, so they're going to push it down the straightaway, even harder going into 3. So it's an exciting racetrack. The walls are real short and puts on a good show.
Sounds like the perfect place then to kick off the playoffs.
Exactly.
Well, and I should note too that we race at IRP next week, which is uncharacteristic, I should say, for the Truck Series. Typically, these guys have a couple of weeks in between running, so this back-to-back seat time, I think, is definitely going to play factor as well.
That's probably what hurt the whole Truck Series to me as myself. Is okay, you just want to race and you got a week off or 2 weeks off. Now you're in the momentum, you just got done with a race. You know how good your truck was, but you're saving their points and looking after them. Now you know the next race, and this is it. This is going to the championship. I'm putting everything.
You said that word. Momentum. That's
momentum.
Key. That's big. And a couple of these guys, I mean, if I'm the 18, I have arguably, of course, the most momentum coming out of this. Describe how important it is to win that final race of the regular season.
It is. I've never done that, so I don't know. But you get down to it in the last, couple of points deal, you're starting to look who you're racing, who you're not racing, and I'm sure that's what they're doing today. Those are looking at figuring out and not on.
Absolutely. Well, quite a show today at Pocono. Matt Crafton squeezed by. He is the final truck driver to make the playoffs. So those 10 drivers were as they stood heading into today's race. I can't thank you enough for being here, Ron. It's been so fun watching this race with you, and your insight truly is unmatched, so thank you.
Yeah, but the stuff we were saying before we were on TV, for TV is better, but we can't say stuff like that. So
there are some
thank
rules.
You for having me, and I'd love to do it again. Did I take Todd's job yet?
I have not heard the official word from the network, but the rumblings are Mr. Bo9 is going to be having a phone call after this one.
I doubt that. I'll give him a hard time. Thank you for having me.
We kid. But thank you for being here, Ron. Please come back anytime. It's been fun. Well, that is it here from Studio 3. Thanks so much for tuning in. We've got an Xfinity Series race from Pocono coming up in just a little bit, but that is the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series regular season finale. I'm Jesse Punch here with Ron Hornaday Jr. Thanks for watching.
Shoulders of pride. I stood on the word that is all true. Like gravity, I'm holding it down.